Hey, this is Mad Movie Mark of the Mad Movie Mark Movie Review. Thank you for joining me as I review the 1924 silent adventure swashbuckler, The Thief of Bagdad. Hey, there's no reason to hide your eyes in shame. I think this is going to be a pretty good review. If you're new to the channel, I am reviewing every movie that's in this book, The 1001 Movies You Must See Before You Die. This film stars Douglas Fairbanks as the thief / Ahmed. He was 41 years old when he made this movie, which absolutely completely blows my mind. This guy's jumping on trampolines, he's sword fighting, he's swashbuckling, he's like climbing ropes. I'm assuming he's actually climbing these ropes. I'm 40 years old. I'm a year younger than he was when he made this movie, and sometimes I can barely get out of a chair. I don't even know if I would survive a trampoline if I tried it tomorrow. So, like, what he was doing was absolutely crazy. He is so fit. He is so athletic. He is just a specimen in this movie, and it was incredible to watch. It also stars Juliana Johnston as the princess, who also does a very good job in this movie. Now, this film is based off 1001 Nights, which is a tale as old as time. This is the fourth movie that I've seen that is based off 1001 Nights. The other three were Aladdin, The Thief of Baghdad from 1940, and The Adventures of Prince Ahmed. And I would say this is probably my second favorite of the four. I really enjoyed this. That being said, I thought the beginning of this movie ran a little long. So in the beginning, the thief / Ahmed is basically having his way with Baghdad. He has his run of the place. He's stealing from people. He's robbing from everyone food and whatever he can get his hands on. The people he's stealing from seem very oblivious to what he's doing. It doesn't even seem like he's that clever with the way he's stealing from people. They are just not paying attention at all, and that's okay the first couple times, but I feel like it ran a little bit long. Like, once he stole from like 4 or 5 people, I'm like, okay, how long is this bit gonna go? Like, I understand he's a thief. He's supposed to be a very skilled thief, even though I question him being skilled, but he's a thief. Like, I get it. Why is this bit dragging so much? And I was a little worried about it at first, because it's only an hour and a half movie, and I felt like this was like the first 15 or 20 minutes of just him stealing things, and I said there's not a whole lot of time here for this movie to recover. But it does recover, and it does a really good job, especially the last half of the movie. There's a lot of action, there's a lot of fighting, it's a lot of really cool scenes. There's like an underwater scene where he meets a group of mermaids. There's a scene where he like fights an underwater beast, and he meets a guy who's like, I think he's like he's like a tree, and he becomes a person. The special effects they do are actually really good, and they don't look cheap. They don't look like they are necessarily dated like a lot of other movies from the 1920s. They actually hold up a little bit, and they're actually pretty cool to watch. I love special effects that are practical, that aren't like 3D computer animated special effects, and I thought they did a really good job here. So the last half of the movie I thought was amazing. I thought it was thrilling. I thought the special effects they were doing were great. I thought that his acting was stupendous. The story I thought was done really well. It's different than the other adaptations of 1001 Nights because it doesn't use all the same characters. It's very loosely adapted. It seems like it's more of like a retelling of 1001 Nights, which I really enjoyed, and the last half really saved this movie for me. So, like I said, in the beginning, he's just kind of stealing from a bunch of people, and then he finds a guy with a magic rope, and he steals the magic rope. What the magic rope does is that it like shoots itself up in the air, so he can scale any walls with this magic rope, which is really great for someone who's a thief. So he steals it, and he decides he's going to like sneak into the palace of the Caliph, who is like the like, I guess the king, a king sort of character. So he gets into the palace, and he sees the princess, and he falls like madly in love. And he originally decides that he's going to like kidnap the princess, but eventually he like meets her and he falls in love with her, and he decides that he's not going to kidnap her. He's instead going to try to woo her in some way. So dad, the Caliph, decides that he wants to marry her off, so he's going to have these like these noble people come in, and these kings and queens, these kings, sorry, not queens, these kings and monarchs from different places are going to come in, and they are going to vie for the hand of the princess. So he decides he's going to steal some clothes that look like he's a prince, and he's going to like steal a horse, and he's going to try to win the hand of the woman that he loves. Now, the princess has a Mongol slave who foresees that she is going to marry the person who touches the bush outside of her castle, like in the garden of her castle. And they're just waiting for one of the suitors to touch this bush. Now, this Mongol slave is in cahoots with the Mongol leader, and she's able to get away and tell him that he must touch the bush, and then he will be able to marry the princess, because that is what her prophecy foretold. So before he can do that, the thief's horse bucks him off, and he flies into the rose bush. So he technically has touched the rose bush first, and he has won the hand of the lady. She later on that night decides that she is going to marry him, that this is the person that she chooses, because she is in love with this thief and he loves her, and it seems like it's a pretty great idea. So the Mongol, he gets word that this thief is not actually a prince but is a thief, and tells the Caliph, and the Caliph gets very upset and demands that the thief be arrested, and they end up like whipping him, and then they're going to feed him to some sort of beast, but the princess stops it and allows him to get away. And after he gets away, it's decided that she needs to pick a new suitor, even though she doesn't want to, because she says that she has picked her suitor and this is what she wants. But the Caliph is not having any of that, and she needs to pick someone who is actually of nobility. So there's three guys, like one of them is incredibly like obese, I think one of them is like old, and then the Mongol is like disgusting or something. She doesn't want any of them. She doesn't want anything to do with any of them. She's not attracted to them. These aren't people that she wants to marry. So she decides she's going to send them on a quest to find these like trinkets, and whoever brings back the most rare trinket wins her hand. This reminds me a little bit of the tale of Princess Kaguya or something like that. She also, it's an anime, and she also sends like her suitors away to find rare items to bring back to her, only the rare items she sends them to get don't really exist, whereas these items actually exist, and she sends them away to go get them. So she sends them away one by one, and they go on these hikes. They're not really that difficult to find, a lot of them, and they don't actually do the footwork and the hard part. They send like their slaves to, or their people who work for them, to actually do the hard tasks of like obtaining these items, and they just kind of sit on their laurels and wait for the items to come to them. Now the Mongol, he ends up getting an apple, I believe, and this apple helps resurrect people who have died, and he tests it on like this slave. He kills the slave, and then he uses the apple, and the slave comes back to life. So he decides he's going to send word to his the woman he has on the inside, that she needs to poison the princess. That way when he gets back, he can resurrect her, and she can pick him, because he has the rarest treasure of all, and that's the treasure of bringing someone back to life. Now, one of the other gentlemen who is vying for the princess's life found a magic carpet, and when they get word that the princess has passed away, they fly on the magic carpet to her in order to try to save her. That will be important a little bit later. So while they're doing this, the thief, the Ahmed guy, Douglas Fairbanks' character, he is on a quest to find this like magic box that will basically, it's almost like a genie lamp, it seems like, which is what the other 1001 Night stories involve, is a genie's lamp. All three of them actually, except for this one. They never actually, I don't think they ever state in this movie that is a genie's lamp or that it involves a genie. It's just like a box. So he ends up going through all these tasks where he has to, like I said originally, he has to like kill these wild beasts. He has to, there's some mermaids, there's some sirens, sort of like the Odysseus story where he meets these sirens who try to woo him, and like they had to tie themselves up to the ship so that they would not succumb to the sirens. Well, he goes down to the mermaids and they try to lure him into a like compromising position, and he says no because he's in love with the princess and he does not want anything to do with these mermaids. And then I think he ends up having to slay a few other things, and there's this guy there's like this tree guy he has to talk. It's a lot of interesting things he has to go through to obtain this box, but eventually he does obtain it after a lot of work on his part. He is the one who works the most out of all these men to get this item, and this box does grant him, like, it seems like as many wishes as he wants, because he ends up wishing, like, he doesn't say anything, there's nothing on the screen, but he puts the box in the air and he becomes like a prince, and then he puts the box in the air and he gets like a piece of bread and he eats the bread, and then he like ends up getting transportation back, like he gets a horse or something and he rides the horse back to the castle. And of course, once he gets there, the princess has been revived, and the Mongol says, "Hey, look, I revived her, so I have the rarest of all the items that you had me come back with." And the guy who brought the magic carpet says, "Hold on a minute, like we would have never have even gotten back here had it not been for my magic carpet. So clearly, I have the rarest item." And then the other guy also had something that helped them get there too and accomplish it. And then the princess, she says that combined, all of their items are just equally as rare because they all equally helped them get back to the castle and revive her and bring her back to life. So they must go back and talk this over and decide who is going to be her husband. Meanwhile, Prince Ahmed is still on his way back, trying to get back to the castle, and while this is going on, the Mongol has had a plan this whole time that he's going to send his troops in, his army into the castle and take it over with and take the princess by force, which is what he ends up doing. Like while all this stuff is going on and while they're deliberating who's going to be like king and all this stuff, he sends his army in and he ends up trying to force the princess to be his wife. It's at this point that Ahmed returns and he ends up using his box and he conjures up like 500,000 soldiers to go into the castle and save the princess. And then he also has a magic cloak as well, which makes him invisible. So he uses the magic cloak to rescue the princess while his army is saving the city, and then at the end of the movie he ends up with the princess. And that's a synopsis of the entire movie, and I thought it was absolutely incredible. Like I said, the action at the end of the movie is phenomenal. I didn't realize this. I did a little bit of research after this, and apparently Douglas Fairbanks, I knew like Charlie Chaplin and Buster Keaton, but apparently Douglas Fairbanks is one of the big actors as well from the silent movie era. I've seen The Black Pirate now, and I've seen this movie, but he apparently also did a Robin Hood movie, and he did a lot of Zorro stuff, which I didn't know about, but I can see it. Like I can see him being the action star of that day, whereas Charlie Chaplin and Buster Keaton are more comedic, and they are more like comedy type of stunt devil stuff that they do and different situations that they get themselves into. I can see Douglas Fairbanks as being like the action star of this time. It really is impressive. It really is crazy that he was doing this at 41 years old. The amount of, I think he does all of his own stunts in this. He does all of his own tricks and all of his own acrobatics and stuff, which is pretty crazy. It's really impressive. I was very impressed by it. I thought he did a phenomenal job. I really like how, I think The Adventures of Prince Ahmed might predate this movie, but of the four, this is the second version of the retelling of 1001 Nights, and I like how it's a retelling where it doesn't involve all the same characters, and it's not like I'm watching this for the fourth time, the same thing over and over again. It's actually different. It's reimagined. I thought it was really good. I really don't have a lot of negative to say about it, besides in the very beginning I thought it was slow. I thought it dragged on a little bit, but besides that, this is a very good movie. I've seen a few silent movies now, and a lot of them are just, there's some of them that are just so long, it's so hard to get through them. It is just a slog, some of these movies, but this one definitely was not the case. After the first half, I was just drawn into this movie. It was, my attention was held. It was so good. The action is there, the special effects are there, everything just really fired on all cylinders. It is a 9 out of 10 for me. Thank you.